Hey guys, Paladin Hammer here. First off, I'm going to say that Captain Awesome, as he thinks he can be self-entitled, only said this was satire so you wouldn't criticize it, apparently. If this wasn't satire and if he wasn't serious, then why did he make a video defending this, in which he said in that second video that no one tried to intellectually debate this with him? The problem with that is that everybody who responded to this video of his also responded to his next video. So we it looks like people did try to discuss this with him, but he just failed to respond to them, I guess. Alright, Captain Awesome, I don't know what your deal is, dude, but apparently you did very little research on Buddhism, or you just felt like misrepresenting the entire doctrine. You gave a bullshit version of the Four Noble Truths. Anybody who wants to actually hear the Four Noble Truths, go just search that here on YouTube. You're going to get 4 videos by the Dalai Lama, or you can click on the links I have on the right hand side of your screen that are all to YouTube. Or you can go to buddhaweb.org or buddhanet.net or buddhism.2be.net/4_noble_truths and read them yourselves. Buddhists do not believe that life is complete suffering. No, they believe that suffering exists in life. The second noble truth does not say to end suffering in desire. It says to end suffering in your negative desires, desires that cause you problems. Okay? It's not saying end every desire you have. It's saying end the desires you have that cause you problems. If you desire vast amounts of wealth and you have a job that sucks completely, well, Buddhism says it's not worth suffering through that intolerable job. You know, it's not worth having a supervisor who takes all the credit for your work and then criticizes you day and night. It's not worth being under constant scrutiny and getting nothing for it. Buddhism says end the negative desires. That doesn't say end your desire for money completely. No, no, no. It doesn't say that. It says end the desires and end the things that those desires contain that cause you suffering. That's what it's saying. You can go to the sources. I have them all to the right-hand side of your screen. I'm going to post a huge amount of links in this box, by the way, so I might just have to start numbering them. He said that Bhutan was a poor nation and thus clearly not a happy nation. He said that rich nations don't have war, they don't have crime on the levels that poor nations do. But according to the University of Leicester, which did a study that was released back in July of '06, Denmark, Switzerland, Austria, Iceland, the Bahamas, Finland, Sweden, and Bhutan are the 1st through 8th respectively most happy countries on the face of the planet. Denmark is not the wealthiest nation, neither is Switzerland, Austria, Iceland, the Bahamas, definitely not the Bahamas, Finland and Sweden, and Bhutan? These are not the wealthiest nations on the face of the planet, but yet Bhutan's the 8th happiest, behind nation not the United States, not France, not Germany, not Russia, not China. Let's see, other happy nations. Number 9, Brunei, 10, Canada, 11, Ireland. Ireland is the 11th most happy nation on the face of the planet. Luxembourg is 12th. Costa Rica, 13th happiest nation. Malta, 14th. The Netherlands, 15th. Antigua and Barbuda, 16th. Malaysia, 17th happiest nation in the world. Certainly a nation that had problems in its history. 18th New Zealand, Norway's 19th, the Schweiz are 20th. These are not the wealthiest nations on the face of the planet. So wealthier nations are happier nations? No, bullshit. Also, you may notice that the United States, despite being one of the wealthiest nations on the face of the planet, has a very high problem with crime. And particularly homicides in this country are far, far greater than they are in European nations. Speaking of the United States, it was 23rd in this survey. Germany, 35th. United Kingdom was 41st. France was 62nd. China, the second wealthiest nation, arguably the wealthiest nation, was 82nd in happiness. Japan, 90th. India, 125th. And Russia, 167th. The 3 least happy nations were also 3 that have huge problems with civil war and infighting: the Democratic Republic of Congo, Zimbabwe, and Burundi. So wealth and happiness being relative? No, not whatsoever. I also have a link to our very own State Department, the U.S. Department of State. which says Bhutan, while having many allegations of human rights abuses, there have been no there is have been no allegations of unlawful deprivation of life or no reports of politically motivated disappearances. There was a 1999 wait, I'm sorry. Yeah, 1998 killing of a Buddhist monk named Gomchen Karma. This man was a Buddhist monk killed by a government official in a Buddhist nation. But according to the United State Department, the government of Bhutan stated that the shooting was accidental, and the official that was responsible has been suspended from duty and charged in connection with the incident, and that his case was heard as of September 2000. According to according to our State Department, about those 100,000 Nepalese refugees who were exiled, they were illegal immigrants, according to Bhutan. That's also from our own State Department. I have all these links to the right-hand side of your screen. You claim rich countries have no or less war, but the United States recently entered a bullshit war with Iraq. So, wealthiest nation in the world going to a bullshit war. You also said that Southeast Asia is a hotbed of problems. One such country was Sri Lanka, but it's not an example of Buddhist problems, because Buddhists are not the issue there. The Tamil Tigers, as they prefer to be called, which is a liberation movement for the racial minority in Sri Lanka, the Tamil people, are the group that has a group consisting of vast religious backgrounds, chiefly Christians and Hindus, are the case of Sri Lanka's civil war. There are the reasons for it. You can go to countrystudies.us/Sri-Lanka/72.htm. And so, Sri Lanka is an example of Buddhist problems? No. The Tamil Tigers, who want their own country, are the problem there. And it's not a religious issue. If it was a religious issue, how come the Christians, the Hindus, and the other religious minorities in that country are fighting with the Tamil Tigers against the Sri Lankan government? Not a religious issue there. Let's see. You said Cambodia was an example of Buddhist problems, civil wars and whatnot. But according to the Encyclopedia Britannica, Cambodia's problems were caused by Pol Pot, an atheist, also a communist. But if you're just looking at religion, we can say atheism was the problem here. Also, the New York Times, Yale, countrystudies.com, and gym.com/canon agree with me on that. It was Pol Pot, an atheist communist person, and his Khmer Rouge regime. historyplace.com/worldhistory/genocide pol/pot.htm will agree with me on that. So will humanrights.org and the Killing Fields Museum and historyandwiz.com. It was the Khmer Rouge, an atheist communist movement, that caused the problems in Cambodia. And by the way, you said Bhutan was the home of the Dalai Lama. It's actually Tibet. Bookrat, you said that Kublai Khan, the man who led the massacre of Baghdad, was a Buddhist. But according to bookrags.com and the University of Calgary, Kublai Khan was a shamanist, like his ancestor Genghis Khan. Both men were shamanist in practice, and you can't really attack shamanism because there's no one doctrine for it. It's basically just whatever the hell the people make of it. Finally, you said that Buddhism was anti-technology, but Japan is very Buddhist. According to the CIA Worldfactbook, it's 84% Buddhism and Shinto, and it's a very technologically advanced country. So, they're not atheists. I don't know where the hell you got that idea. Where are your sources, by the way? You gave no sources for your video. You said that there are more Buddhists in U.S. prisons than atheists. Yes, but there's also Janists in U.S. prisons. And killing and other acts that we generally consider evil Janists are in prison. So why would they be? Well, according to the Discovery Channel's documentary Inside a Supermax Prison, or UAV Media Relations, there have been studies that indicate that persons who convert to a religion in prison have a reduction in negative behaviors, such as violent actions, swearing, all the other things you don't want. So these people, and Buddhism has a great many organizations in this country that are trying to convert persons in prison to Buddhism. Unfortunately, though, the Nation of Islam is still the number one convert religion in prison.